Today on the LA Food Podcast, I'm your host Lucas Servodio, coming at you with a special midweek bonus episode for a slice of pizza-related controversy that's been sweeping the nation. Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports infamy went viral last week after he posted one of his one-bite pizza reviews. He was reviewing Dragon Pizza, a small independent pizza shop in Somerville, Massachusetts, and turns out the owner, Charlie Red, wasn't such a fan of Portnoy's and came out front to give the man a pizza of his mind. See what I did there? Never mind. This was just the beginning though. Their profanity-laden interaction quickly became the talk of TikTok, Instagram, and the app formerly known as Twitter. Portnoy went on Tucker Carlson to talk about the incident, and Red did an interview with Bon Appetit to give his side of the story. The situation spiraled out of control with Portnoy's deranged army of bro followers pulling out all the stops to mess with Dragon Pizza, including tanking their Yelp rating and putting in fake orders at the shop. It's a pizza feud that says a lot about the state of food criticism, the power of food influencers, and the insanity of the culture wars. I had to have Father Sal join me to chop up all the hairy details and discuss the questions of do we care? Why do we care? And what the heck does this all mean? Quick trigger warning, Portnoy is a pretty controversial character, and we do name the litany of problematic things he's done in the past. We also play a clip of the pretty profane interaction shared by Portnoy and the pizza owner, so if you've got kids around or you yourself are sensitive to that sort of thing, I just wanted to do the neighborly thing and shoot you a heads up. We'll be back on Friday with an epic episode featuring one of the most interesting and influential guests we've ever had, so I hope you'll come back for that, dear listener. But without further ado, let's chow down. Joining us today for a special edition episode of the LA Food Podcast, it is the president of the Dave Portnoy fan club, Father Sal. Father Sal, how you doing today?
Okay. You are definitely the Dave Portnoy fan here. Don't give me those false allegations shit. Oh yeah, you get a little invite to his food pizza festival. I saw a little glint in the eye, little cozying up to the Barstool president. I
got an invite? What are you talking about?
I thought you told me that. There was a whole thing where it's like, oh, he's doing a pizza festival. I don't know if he got an invite. You just knew it was happening, and I was like, look, fuck this guy. Don't put that evil on me, is what I would say.
I absolutely disavow those allegations. I was not invited to the One Bite Pizza Festival in New York City. The organizer of the Outside Lands food roster also happens to be involved with that festival. But, don't make me a Portnoy fan by association. Listener, in case you haven't guessed so far, we're here to talk about the viral news that happened this week about Dave Portnoy's altercation with a pizzeria out of Somerset, Massachusetts. It's called Dragon Pizza. Father Sal, have you been following this?
I have, yeah. I actually first saw Kenji Lopez alt post about it. That's how I heard about it, and then you hit me up with it. Somerville, Massachusetts, by the way, not Somerset. That's in New Jersey.
All right, so I just got canceled in all of Massachusetts. We're going to do something high-tech for the LA Food Podcast. We are actually going to play the audio of the altercation. You're not going to hear it right now, Saul, but I'm going to edit it in later. I do want to give a quick warning. If for any reason you have children nearby or let your children listen to the LA Food Podcast, you may want to skip the next 2 minutes because let's just say that there is some colorful language used. But without further ado, here it is. We'll be right back.
Dave.
Yes.
Enjoy your pizza as any customer, but I don't appreciate what you do coming in and judging a business with one bite.
Well, we do more. Is this your spot?
This is my spot.
Oh.
I hope you enjoy your pizza, but I don't appreciate what you do to small businesses.
Well, I help. The good news is I give
don't
you
see it that way.
Terrible school.
Let me be a little clearer. Move on. Don't stand in front of my business.
Let me be clear. Fuck you.
Let me be clear.
Fuck
Get
you.
the fuck out of front of my business.
Fuck you.
Dumb
It's
as
a
the year.
public
Your whole
street, you
fucking
motherfucker.
Yeah, but
it's
this
a
is my
public
business.
street. This ain't your business.
Yeah, but this is my business. And if you
Fuck
stay here,
you.
I'm calling the
Fuck
fucking
you.
police.
He's right across the street. Go get him. What are you gonna tattle me off for standing on the public street?
Just being a fucking
Your,
bitch.
your shirt's 6 sizes too small, fatso.
Just go fuck yourself and the whole fucking platform you're on.
Oh, you don't like the platform?
You're a joke to me, dude.
You know what? You're
Take
making
your
a
fucking
joke.
show and your fucking game and go somewhere else.
Blah, blah, blah. By the
guess
way,
what?
I've raised $50 million for small business.
You're all talk, dude.
$50
You're all
million?
talk.
Was that all talk?
Yeah, kind of like that New York Times article.
Here we
breaking
go.
down.
Here
Exactly.
we go. Your
Exactly.
shirt's 6 sizes too small.
I don't care. I
Lose
work
some
hard.
weight.
You're a fucking joke.
You work hard?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're
My man.
you're so full of shit, dude.
How? Tell me how.
You're a fucking clown.
How?
I run a business. I work hard.
I sold my
provide jobs.
business twice. 100 million, 400 million,
You're a
bought back
joke.
for a buck. That's a clown?
Everything since I got in this business that you represent is an embarrassment
Like
to this
what?
business.
Like raising 50 million for small business?
Everything.
Name
Everything.
it. Name it.
Everything.
You
I
haven't
don't
named
play
one
your
thing.
game.
You haven't named one thing.
I make pizza. It's great.
It sucks,
You're
actually.
a fucking joke.
Name one thing. Name one thing, asshole.
I've given up too much of my time.
All you've said is everything. Name one thing.
You're a fucking
Name
joke.
one
to me.
thing. This guy's a real fucking piece of shit.
Asshole.
I am. I'm minding my own business doing a review.
This is me posting you, telling you to fuck.
Oh, you're posting me, buddy.
All right, Saul. Before we get into talking about the interaction itself, I did want to note that since the recording that you just listened to, dear listener, happened, the story has gone extremely viral. In case you're not familiar with who Dave Portnoy is, Saul, you want to give a quick rundown of who he is, why he's famous, and why we care about this at all?
Well, I will say I don't care about this or him, but basically he started okay, I'll stick to the facts for now. He started a website, essentially a sports blog called Barstool, and that like expanded into all sorts of whatever stuff. Became basically a male lifestyle brand for like sports fans of like in their like 20s and early adulthood of men. And has gained influence through that, and then for whatever reason Portnoy leveraged that fame into doing one bite pizza reviews, which apparently are quite big within, I would say, the Barstool community in particular.
Yeah, so what you just heard, dear listener, is one of Dave Portnoy's one bite pizza reviews. He just goes to different pizzerias as part of a pretty viral TikTok and Instagram series that he has, and he takes 1 or 2 bites, but he just says one bite. Everybody knows the rules. And based on that bite, he gives a rating to the pizzeria, and it's a rating from 1 to 10, and typically his ratings hover in the like 6.1 to 9.3 to 9.4 category. Usually if he's giving a score of like an 8 and above, it's a really, really good score. He's actually a little bit of a tough critic. But the pizza shop owner in question here, Charlie Red, the owner of Dragon Pizza, he seemed to have some bones to pick with Mr. Portnoy even before Portnoy got to his pizza shop. Saul, what do you think his bones were to pick with Portnoy based on what he said?
Well, Dave Portnoy is kind of has the reputation of being a huge dick, and his fan base is like, I think, famously pretty toxic, which has played out in the aftermath of this whole altercation because they've like totally tanked the Yelp rating, super abusive. Dave has a history and the community that he cultivated with Barstool community reputation of being super sexist, racist, just dumb and annoying, frankly. And also, so Dave, via his following from sports media, has a huge following for his pizza reviews. However, he also has no real like qualification or interest really in diving into pizza beyond one bite. And this guy was like, you can't judge a whole spot and give it a rating based on one bite of pizza. And like because of the following being so big, it's kind of make or break. Now, to be clear, I think Portnoy has brought a lot of attention to places that he likes, which is whatever it is. But the reality is like I said, he's an entertainer. He's a personality. He's not a restaurant critic. And therefore, I think one of the complaints from Red, beyond the whole cult of personality and relatively toxic community that the guy has built, is that he's just there to make a buck or to build his own profile off the guy's place and, potentially tank it or criticize it to a whole community after trying one bite of pizza.
So I want to unpack quickly the bit you just mentioned about Portnoy, and I think you said the words you chose were he's a real piece of shit. There's a list of allegations in a New York Times article, which I will post in the show notes, dear listener, but I'm reading directly, and I did want to just give a quick trigger warning. There are some not so great things in this like resume of things that Portnoy has said in the past. Mr. Portnoy rose to fame by capitalizing on misogyny and other offensive behavior. He once said that some women kind of deserve to be raped. He wouldn't remove photos showing a toddler's penis from his blog until police showed up at his door. He made what he acknowledged were racist statements, including using the N-word repeatedly. He outed women who accused him of sexual misconduct, threatened to fire employees engaged in unionizing, and repeatedly incited attacks on his critics. That's quite a CV.
Oh yeah! Shout out to all our kid listeners, our primary audience of child listeners, who have just learned a whole lot about the world from that reading.
To your point, though, this is from the outset an interesting case because this is a guy who, by every measure, should be canceled. This man has done probably 100 things that should have him be canceled at this point, and yet. Not only is he still very much the head of his organization, still posting these pizza reviews that people take as Bible truth, he is thriving. He's got, to your point, I think one of the most influential voices in food criticism in this country at the moment. And I don't think that is okay. Food criticism is maybe a strong way to frame it, but certainly his opinion on food carries more weight than some really influential food critics who know their shit.
That's because he has a cult of personality, right? You can't, just like with whatever Trump or others who have built a following loyal to their specific personality and brand, you can't be canceled because you have people behind you that have like whatever personal parasocial a relation to who you are. So even if, and by the way, the quote unquote cancel, these behaviors have impacted Portnoy and his economics in the past. Barstool was in the midst of I think had initially piloted a partnership with ESPN that would have elevated their platform a ton. That got canceled in part because of his behavior and past allegations against him. So look, it's he still has within his community, within his following, which is a not insubstantial following, to be fair. Of course, he has a very influential voice. But at the same time, like there's just, I think, as strong feelings against Barstool, people such as myself, who are anti what this guy does as pro, maybe even more, right? And in fact, I believe the pizzeria in question here, despite Portnoy sicking his followers and overall online community against them, has actually thrived in its own way due to support from the community. Because look, it's basically like Goop. Barstool is Goop, essentially the same thing. Gwyneth Paltrow is Goop. It's a lifestyle brand, but just for spoiled men. And what it tries to empower, rather than a lifestyle of luxury that Goop does, it's a lifestyle of being a spoiled dude. And a lot of people are bought into that particular lifestyle, and that's the audience he has power with, and will probably always be able to lead in some way. So
you're saying he's popular because he is excusing the behavior of a bunch of toxic men out there just by existing?
Not excusing, empowering. Right? Like literally, he's like what men do. Saturdays are for the boys. We drink beer and we say racist shit, and and women are objects and blah 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 blah, whatever. And really just like let men be like pieces of shit is kind of the unspoken mantra of this group. His sports, like the sports commentary, isn't that good. Like he's not a good sports commentator, right? He's not a good pizza commentator. Though what he has to offer is like, this is like the bullshit masculinity that our community like champions. And like, if you don't want to like have to have any consequence for your action and like be a dick without consequence, blah blah blah, Like, you follow us. And so he has a huge community based on that. And because he has a huge community, when he decides to do pizza reviews, it has a huge audience, right? More audience than any single like critic in the country, probably, right? Almost definitely. So that's where his influence comes from, and that's what the pizza owner in question, Mr. Red, had a problem with, spoke out against, and then is now facing the consequences for.
So let's break down the interaction itself between Portnoy and Red, because I think the interaction in and of itself is interesting and I think indicative of who Portnoy is as a person. Let me ask you a very simple question that I have actually gotten into some heated debates about recently. Who started it?
The interaction was started by the pizza owner. He went he quote unquote started the interaction. He kicked it off. Now Portnoy is the one doing the reviews, but I think in this scenario you can say that nothing would have happened if not for the owner deciding to walk out and have words with Portnoy.
I hear that, although I think that the tone with which the pizza maker approached Portnoy with was pretty reasonable. First of all, like he said, look, you're a customer like everybody else, and I want you to enjoy your pizza. I just want you to know I don't appreciate what you're doing. Now, there's an argument to be made that he poked the bear and should have known what he should have been expecting from there. But Portnoy took it to the next level, man. Like the moment he said that, profanity started going, personal attacks started going. Like I think it's a little simplistic to say that the pizza owner started it. I think the pizza owner was just, yes, he poked the bear, but fuck me, Portnoy really took it to the next level.
I see what you're saying here. So who made the interaction a negative and antagonistic interaction? Was Portnoy. And let me put it this way: it's not even poke the bear. Like, that guy came out and started talking. I think Portnoy's seeing dollar signs right away. Right? He's literally selling T-shirts already off the interaction, and he knows this is like an interaction like that. An antagonistic one is red meat for his audience, right? He's had these interactions before. He knows it. He's had it on Twitter, online, following the allegations, right? It's a very Trumpian handbook of just attack the people who are not even attacking you really, but questioning your exactly. So yeah, sure. In that way, I think he look, he's a media personality and a very successful one. He takes after, I think, another media personality we'll talk about shortly, and Tucker Carlson and others, and was like, negative interaction is going to be just gold for me. And guess what? I have this guy doesn't. Hundreds of millions of people watching and following and ready to do my whim, right? So he's on a power trip. The guy decides to say, hey, I don't. Portnoy has no reason or incentive to be reasonable back.
Yeah. So we've talked about whether Red has had valid points, and we kind of agree that the point he was trying to make is a valid one. It's not exactly fair to go in there and judge a whole pizza place based on one bite. I can see why some people would say that's not actually that valid of a point, because isn't that what most influencers do? I'm not as a person who reviews food online, right? I'm not going to a sandwich shop 3 times or 4 times before I drop a review, right? Oftentimes, I'm eating half a sandwich sometimes if I'm doing multiple sandwiches in a day and making a full judgment off of it. Now, the difference here is I don't have millions and millions of followers like Dave Portnoy does, but there's a whole cottage industry of folks who are making quote unquote snap judgments off of food. So in that sense, Red's anger does feel a bit more personal towards Portnoy than making a decent point across the board.
Yeah, I think it is more that, right? I think there's just the question of whether or not these reviews are legitimate. These one bite pizza reviews are. The thing is, they're not framed as here's how you understand here's how you get the best one bite of pizza. It's here's how you judge an entire pizza place, right? Here's how you judge an entire business, small business, right? Off this one bite. I don't think Portnoy really does any caveats on these reviews, being by the way, just remember that I only had one bite of one slice of pie here, so who knows? Maybe something else is great. That's not happening. And I do think it's much more about who the guy is, the community he represents, and the way he approaches what he does than it is about the actual like thing here of having a bite of pizza and talking about it. Anyone's allowed to do that. I do think also, yes, the level of influence he has is a huge component of it, because like, look, if you if you wield the amount of power he does, and I will say, like, I don't know if a bad pizza review from Portnoy actually would tank a local place, right? Presumably they have their own community folks, and they're not like just Barstooly folks there. I'm sure there are examples of it happening, but presumably it doesn't. Like, sure, maybe Barstools people won't go there, but it doesn't change the game. If anything, it gives them some audience.
Well, that's where I want to disagree with you a little bit. The
Mm.
point of Portnoy, it doesn't caveat his reviews, because if you watch the video up until the interaction where Red comes out of his shop and starts to talk to Portnoy, this is not a pizza that Portnoy likes, right? He talks about the fact that it's not crispy. He talks about that there's a Parmesan flavor. He's pretty careful in saying, like, look, if you like Parmesan, you might like Parmesan. You might like this pie. But for me, it's not my type of pie. And honestly, that's exactly how I and some other like respectful influencers that I know would go about reviewing something that they did not like. And I do think that Portnoy, yes, not the most nuanced like voice out there, but he does, even with shitty scores, try to make them somewhat nice. So
Hmm.
it's
that's actually that is a fair point, but but it goes back to the fact that I think the issue the guy had here is more with Portnoy and what he represents personally. Probably, right? If you were doing the LA Pizza Countdown, right, but in Somerville, Massachusetts, Somerville Pizza Countdown, I highly doubt. But coming at it from a place where like you love pizza, you enjoy pizza, you're trying different spots, trying to elevate things, which yeah, Portnoy can use that framing too. But I think there's a inherent negativity in his like persona and in who he how he carries himself, and what he messages to his audience that this guy probably was responding to ultimately.
And that's what I was going to say. I actually think this guy was kind of Red, the owner of Dragon Pizza, was kind of taking one for the culture here. Like
Yeah.
his point about like Portnoy's, nuance and platform and whatnot, I don't think was entirely valid, at least that point in and of itself. But I think he saw a bully and he wanted to stand up to a bully. And that's what he did. And he knew, I don't know if he knew the full extent of the consequences, but I think in some way he knew that he had a lot more to lose than to gain by doing this. Because I do think even a 6.3 or 6.4, whatever the fuck the rating was, I still think that probably would have been fine for his business. It would have been like, hey, it's not a horrific score. It's what Dave Portnoy said. It was pretty good. He just didn't like the taste of Parmesan. He probably still would have got some business from it. By coming out, he still had more to lose than he had to gain, even with the shitty score.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think the exact frame you used of saw a bully and went to speak to the bully, stand up to the bully, is probably correct. Yeah.
Now, did Portnoy have any points? Because one thing that Portnoy kept bringing up in the interaction was, I've raised $50 million for small business. And I looked into this, and what he was talking about was, I'm pretty sure during the pandemic, Barstool started a fund where they were raising money for small businesses. And, it was kind of a social media play too, where they were like posting the interactions of like the small businesses receiving the checks and whatnot. Do you think that Portnoy had any good points in defending himself?
No. I don't think charity just like wipes away. Like, it doesn't change his persona, right? It doesn't change his personality, right? I don't think it was brought up as it's a simplistic point that is, again, is like indicated to his own audience, right? It's more meat for his own audience. It's something that it's like a messaging point that his followers can use to back him up, but it doesn't really like, it's not a meaningful or like a relevant point. You can't be like, hey, fuck you, let's rape women, boys are the like, let's drink beers, and I raised money for small businesses. It doesn't there's no equation that balances that.
Yeah, it's like Cosby saying, but I had a foundation. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
you still
I feel a little wrong. I mean, look, Portnoy has like actual like legitimate sexual assault allegations against him. I feel a little bad putting him in that same corner, but like in terms of like the comparison, it's correct, right? Bad behavior is not wiped out by just saying, oh, you do this, and therefore you're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the aftermath of this interaction. So what happened in the immediate aftermath of this interaction is that Barstool sat on this for a couple weeks. And Red, I guess, tried to get ahead of it by posting the picture that he took on Instagram, even while Barstool was sitting by it. He wrote some like funny caption like "fuck you" and the stool you came in on or something. Kind of indicated that he stepped up to Portnoy, right? What happened after this is Portnoy came out with the interview with the video. It went super viral, and he decides to go on Tucker Carlson of all places to talk about this. First of all, why do you think Portnoy went to Tucker?
They have the same. It's the same tone and same like. I mean, it's the masterminds of taking an antagonistic interaction and spinning it out perfectly, right? And it's someone who's going to be in his corner, right? And just like blah blah blah. Also, I would say Barstool aligns pretty closely with Fox News and that audience, so there's just like natural sort of overlays here.
Well, the most psychopathic thing about this whole interview in my mind was when Tucker Carlson was just trying to make small talk with Portnoy, and he's talking to him about like his views on pizza, and he looks at him with this like weird sly smile and is like, "How about pineapple? Pineapple and bacon?" Yeah. That was weird, bro. That was like, this man's got some skeletons.
It makes total sense that Tucker likes pineapple on pizza. You can't trust someone who enjoys that combination, in my opinion.
Yeah. Another thing that stuck out to me about this interview is that one of the points that Portnoy kept making was that he kept saying that Red is everything that's wrong with this country.
Yeah.
LOL.
I mean, no. It's like, look, again, the reason he goes on Tucker is because Tucker is an entertainer. This is entertainment, right? This is WWE wrestling. That's the point here. And like, look, I really think I don't even know if we're doing any favors by talking about this now. This is something that like should just like flitter away. This is an attempt by Portnoy, who's now selling merch about the interaction, right, and profiting off it. This is like, hey, I had this WWE fight. Let's do the marketing around it, right? Let's go big. Let's hold this, and then sick our millions of people on the guy, right? Let's go do that.
I mean, look, I think that you're right. You raised the question, is it good that we on this podcast are giving our platform to it? And to me, it's like
to the millions of children listening today, is it helpful for us to
Well, look, I believe that like these things happen in the aggregate, right? It's like we're like there's so many people out there that are gonna see this interaction with Portnoy and just latch on to that like $50 million figure and whatnot, and excuse Portnoy for all of his behavior. I know better than to think that like I can convince people that the other way is the right way based on facts. Like it's not here, and we're not gonna like convince anybody who's a Portnoy supporter that Portnoy is bad because he has all these like allegations. They're just gonna be like, oh, it's the fake news media. What do you expect? Although I will say it's an honor to be lumped in with the fake news media.
I was about to say, yeah, it's real. We're really big up in ourselves if we're part of that.
Yeah, no, I was more so talking about the New York Times article, but we can be part of the fake news media too. I just think like sometimes you just have to provide a place where like you can get into the nuance of things and talk about both sides and like and kind of just like chop it up because people don't trust news, and it kind of helps that you have people that aren't the news just talking about it. Now, again, I don't think we're going to convince anybody other than like the few children out there, but maybe some people are curious about the interaction and wanted to learn about it. Now, hey, one thing I wanted to touch on before you have to leave is that there were real impacts on the business, right? According to Red, some things that happened is that the Yelp review was tanked by people who had never been to the pizza business, to Dragon Pizza, just because they love Portnoy going on Yelp and being like, this place fucking sucks. Also, there were other things like they were getting threats on their phones. People were calling in like fake orders that huge fake orders and then not going to pick them up so that the pizzeria would basically lose out on resources.
Yeah,
they're having to take security measures that they never had to take before. To your point, it does seem that since this interview, business has turned around and now there are people supporting the business. But fucking hell, are not the consequences of what Portnoy can do and what his followers are willing to do kind of enough to show you that, like, these aren't just pizza reviews. This is like, it's kind of like Saudi Arabia buying Newcastle. There's like an entire agenda here. He's just using pizza to push a bigger agenda, it feels like.
It's more like almost like a mafia, like, better like my review, otherwise something bad might happen. You know what I'm saying? like there's like a weird threat behind it. And yeah, no, it's like it's pretty fucking. I mean, now we should say, luckily the community in Somerville has kind of rallied behind Dragon Pizza and has like been really buying, like really trying to support, I think, buying and selling out the pizzeria itself. But like there were real attempts to essentially put these guys out of business, right? Like they're like, hey, you said my favorite TV personality was like a bully, and therefore I'm gonna put you and your like dozen employees out of business. That's bullshit. It's like it's a really like it's legitimately dangerous, right? Like I don't know, like dangerous to like their well being and livelihood. To if like I don't know, there wasn't the effort by Red and the owner of the pizzeria to actually go out and make sure his side of the story was told. So that I think, yeah. I mean, look, and I think in the end, this is going to be just like any other like nonsense, big media bullfight WWE thing. It's going to fizzle pretty quickly, I think, too. I just don't think it will matter to anyone, to Portnoy's followers, anyone, unless Portnoy decides to keep bringing them up, which he very well might. But otherwise, it's just like, just like a interaction between a shitty guy and a guy owning a small business, and like the real harassment that came from that.
I think the only reason I agree with you, this will ultimately fizzle out, but I do think the only thing that's kind of different about this is Portnoy did say this was one of the most viral things he'd ever done. And it's just
Really
interesting to me that like out of all of the moments that he's had in his career, pizza is one of the most viral he's had. And
well, I saw the tweet that he like the tweet that he put out about it. It doesn't have as many likes as like you would have actually thought. It certainly is viral, but it's also, it behooves him to say in the moment as it's gaining steam that it's the most viral thing. That brings more attention to it. I think he and Barstool have done more stuff and had more public blowouts. You know what was viral was when the New York Times publicly accused him, like legitimately, of like sexual assault and racism and union busting. That went pretty fucking viral. And to the point where they lost huge business. Now this, I'm sure got a lot of attention, but it's also helpful for him to say, check out this most viral thing that's ever happened to me, and buy my t-shirt, by the way, while you're at it.
The only caveat I'll say to that is that, not everyone's a boomer and goes on Twitter for their news. He may have been referring to TikTok, as well, which is a platform that
sure.
Your geriatric ass probably isn't on as much.
I'm not even on Twitter anymore now, honestly. I just had to look at this particular tweet. I shouldn't speak about virality, I suppose. But I mean, I still think, look, of the Barstool community, I'm sure they won't forget, but I hope they'll just like lose interest. Essentially, it's so useful to have like an opponent or like a foe in the public sphere, and especially if you're Portnoy, right? That you can keep like profiting off of, and I suspect that might be what happens here.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to get you one of his Dragon Slayer t-shirts for Christmas. But until then, Father Sal, just wanted to say thank you for joining the pod and for making some extra time for our listeners this week. Good job by you, buddy. Just say good job by you. All right, bye, dude.
Good job by you, buddy. No. See you later. All right.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. As I mentioned, we'll be back on Friday with another epic episode, so you're not going to want to miss that, dear listener. If you like what you heard today, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a rating, a review, subscribe if you should be so inclined, and if you're looking for me, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at the LA Countdown. That's TheLaCountdown. You can also find me on Instagram at LA Food Pod. That's LAFOODPOD.